Okay, if you go to festivals at all, Red Rocks or otherwise, you're bound to have seen our next speaker perform because he has performed in 71 festivals all over the year. I thought we did a lot. 71's insane. He's the artistic director and founder of Moment Improv Theater in San Francisco. And Rich, he's one of the hardest working people in improv because it's the moment California closed down. Within a few days, he was teaching online and has taught over 345 hours online in 2020 alone.
Wow.
Doing a talk titled Yes and Then What's Next? It's all about multitasking. Please give it up for Marcus
Marcus
Sams.
Sams.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi everyone. Roland and Rich, thank you so much for having me on. And oh my gosh, the previous speakers. So much improv wisdom and gold there, right? So I have a moment of honesty. Last night around 10 p.m., I birthed a new brainchild around this and completely realized what I wanted this talk to be about. And it still works with the same title, but there's just one small modification. I'm going to let you know the modification, and then we're going to be off to the races on this. So it's titled Yes and Then, right? What's next? It's all about tasking. Well, in that first line, if I were to redo it, it would say yes, then, and. And I'm going to tell you why, okay? So what I teach in San Francisco, I like to call organic narrative long-form improvisation. All right, meaning it's long-form improv narrative. I like to adhere to this idea of the scenic arc and the show arc, and then organic meaning it comes from within or it comes from your scene partner. So everything that happens is happening because you and your scene partner have chosen to come onto that stage and do something together. And that's what makes improv so awesome and unpredictable and beautiful. Okay? So as a teacher, after teaching a level 1 class, I honestly spend the majority of my time teaching people to slow down. And here's the thing. I've got a lot of thoughts that I want to toss your way, just kind of to, toss into the thought mill and for you to think about. And so I probably won't be able to slow down in this one. So let's get right to it. I hear a beat in the background. Nice. In the beginning of our improv journeys, we're taught things like yes and, don't think, react quickly, things like this. And I think that, or at least I feel like, that when we are rushing the scene, we're missing all the small little details and the minutia that makes up reality. Okay? And what I want to do is I want to go over how I teach yes and. Okay, so when I'm teaching yes and, I usually say, okay, there is an object there, and then we're all going to say yes, and then someone adds another object, yes, and then another object, yes, okay? But when we're doing the adding process, a phrase that I often say is anything is absolutely everything in our improv, and anything can become something. Okay, so let's take a table, for instance. We put down a table. Yes. And then someone puts down a turkey. Yes. Someone puts down cranberry sauce. Yes. Maybe some stuffing. Yes. Okay, already you're all thinking, oh, maybe this has something to do with the Thanksgiving dinner, right? Because you're doing the mental math. Now, the thing about the human brain is it wants to make sense of the world around us. And so it's always going to be trying to do that. And honestly, if we get out of its way, we're giving the brain a better opportunity to crunch the scene that's right in front of us. Okay? So everything that I did so far was what I consider a reaching out move. I'm reaching out, bringing a new object, bringing new things and stuff. I hate things and stuff because it's so nondescript, but I'm going to use it right now. We're bringing more things and stuff into the scenario or the scene, but we're not drilling down. So when we're playing this game, there's two moves. You can either reach out, pull more stuff in, or you can do a drill down move. And the drilling down is what gets us the richness in our scenes. It helps keep us away from playing caricatures. It gives us a sense of the history of the character that we're playing. Okay, so take this table. There's a table, there's the turkey, there's a cranberry sauce, there's a stuffing. If an improviser makes a move, oh, and on the bottom of the table there are these scratch marks. Boom. Now all of a sudden we've introduced, because of the detail, we've introduced that there may be an animal in this scene, right? One of the first lessons I ever learned was never say candy bar when you can say Milky Way. Be specific, okay? So we've got the scratches on the table, great. And now let's say the turkey is really dry, okay? It's like bone dry. Okay, so now we're thinking maybe this is not a very good cook. And then we're like, oh, someone adds, now the stuffing has burnt edges around it. Okay, so now all of a sudden, now we're like, okay, this person's not a very good cook. But now let's make it personal and just like dive into some sadness. Let's say there's a single place setting for one. Oh man, this is starting to feel sad. There's a single tall can of Pabst Blue Ribbon. Oh, okay. This is telling something about the psychology of this character. All right. Now, although it seems enticing to reach out, grab something, put something else in, and keep adding to the scene, we're already adding volumes to the scene. The next move, in supporting what has already come before it, I may put a locket. A golden locket with a couple inside the locket. Now, all of a sudden, the story has an incredible richness that the audience is going to be interested in. And they're going to lean in. Okay? So, if you think about it, and like I said, I'm going to throw a bunch of ideas and see what lands for you. If you think about it, improv scenes could be thought of as a sine wave. Okay, let's get super geeky and technical. But a sine wave goes like this, right? Like it wobbles in and out. So at the beginning of a scene, let's say we're starting here, we don't know what this scene is about. So the most powerful thing that we can do is listen. We listen, we learn some more information, and that scene starts to grow. And we get some more details, and the scene continues to grow. Until at which point, we have enough information banked that we know what our character's want is. And then in pursuit of that want, the scene thrusts forward until we come up to a new point where we need to investigate and listen harder. And we do more investigating and we learn some more. And then we get to know a deeper sense of what we want. And then that thrusts the scene forward again. Okay? So we're being present to see what is there. Now, space objects can be freaking scary for improvisers, okay? I personally love them, and it's what got me into teaching, actually. Now, if you think about it in our personal lives, every object that we have chosen to keep in our life, it was a choice, and there was a reason behind it. We've all done mass purges before. Oh, I don't need this shirt. I don't need this thing, this locket, right? Okay, so all the things are a choice. Which means every single aspect of every single space object that you bring to the table or you manifest in your improv scene has purpose and meaning if you allow it to. Every object has a history. Every object tells the story of the character. It tells the story of our lives. So we continue to add object by object by object to increase our general awareness. Okay? Now, what's next? Well, what's next must come from what came before it. So for me, the measure of progress in a scene is not about how far the scene goes or how many words we cram into that scene, but it's a degree to how much have we listened. You know, Larry King just recently passed away, and a quote that he said was that I never learned anything when I was talking. Not talking in an improv scene. That can be one of the scariest things, right? Because we feel like there's dead air. But if you are interested in what you are doing, you will be interesting to watch every time. Be interested in that box of cereal, trying to open up the plastic thing and allowing yourself to be emotionally vulnerable enough to get upset over that. That's, Mel Brooks said that something like, you stub your toe, that's comedy. I stub my toe, it's a tragedy. We can play with this a lot more. So, tasking. In order to move the scene forward, you have to know when something has changed in that scene. In order to know that something's changed in that scene, you need to know how you feel in that moment. In order to know how you feel, you have to be emotionally available and present. And to be present, you need to be listening. So oftentimes when young improvisers, fledgling improvisers come to learn improv, they're trying to emulate what they've seen in other improvisers. And so in a weird sort of way, they're playing a caricature of an improviser. And sometimes if that improviser isn't diving deep into that character, then all of a sudden that improviser is actually playing a caricature of something else, like the Pirate King. So now you've got a caricature of a caricature. So a question that I kind of like want to pose is that, or an acknowledgement is that the brain wants to make sense of the world around us. If we organically have questions that pop up based on the content that's already present, and if our task is only to simply answer the questions one at a time to bring more clarity into the world that we're crafting together, that everything in that world and everything in that scene and everything in that story will always be connected. The question for improvisers that I pose is, how deep do we want to go? What tasks are we working on to get better? Because a phrase that I learned in acting is that which hinders your task is your task. And improv, just like life, in a scene, it's not a destination, but it's a journey. So take the time, chew the scenery, go deep, have fun, and connect with that audience. There's my talk.
Yeah. Thank you, Marcus.
I love how it was a question. Was that a talk?
Thanks so much.
So good, so good. If you're interested in what you're doing, you'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
So good, so good, so good. Okay.